Hello, I'm Brian, and you're watching Someplace or Another. And today I'm in St. Louis, and I'm going to the Soldiers Memorial. Let's check it out. I inserted pause gaps. If you choose to read the sign, there's plenty of time to hit that pause button. This place is way cooler than I thought it would be. And we're starting this video out in the Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848. Should have paid more attention in school. Look how much of Mexico is now the U.S. This broken sword belongs to Lieutenant John Knapp. 1860. Civil War divided the city, divided the nation. During the Civil War, Missourians fought on both sides of the conflict. Well, this is interesting. When Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves in 1863, it only freed the slaves in 10 Confederate states. The USS St. Louis, 1906. Over the course of U.S. naval history, 6 vessels have borne the name of the city of St. Louis. Tending to the wounded. St. Louisans on the forefront. For 3 years, the people of St. Louis remained divided on joining the fight in Europe. Yet when President Woodrow Wilson asked Congress to declare war in April 1917, St. Louisans and Missouri rallied to the course. St. Louis and their industrial might. This is a shot of Wagner Electric. Food will win the war. The federal government set up U.S. Food Administration to support the war efforts. The agency's goal was twofold: to help farmers produce more food for American troops and the Allies, and to get every American household to conserve food. Huh. I never would have thought people back home would have had to conserve food. World War I erupted in 1914. From across the Atlantic, Americans saw the Great War as a clash of European empires desperate to keep their power and territory. The U.S. therefore remained neutral until Germany's harassment of American merchant ships. The U.S. joined the war in 1917. Remembering their service. St. Louis is the birthplace of the American Legion. Okay, off to the West Gallery. The War in the Pacific. After the U.S. declared war on the Axis of powers of Germany, Italy, and Japan, St. Louisans were sent to serve across the vast expanses of the Pacific Ocean. St. Louis Flyers. St. Louis became the leader in aviation, innovation, and manufacturing in the years leading up to World War II. During the war, the Army and the Navy trained pilots at the local airfields, and St. Louis aviators served their country courageously. Wartime racial discrimination. Many defense plants refused to hire black workers in 1941. Black men and women planned to march on Washington, D.C. that July. St. Louis Ordnance Plant. St. Louisans helped build the bomb. The war's end. Nazi Germany surrendered to the Allies on May 8, 1945. The date known as Victory in Europe. Yet the war continued in the Pacific, growing more violent and costly over the next 3 months. Fearing the human toll of invading mainland Japan, the U.S. decided to drop the first atomic bomb on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. In August 1945, Japan surrendered unconditionally to the Allies days after the second bombing. Things they brought home from the war. And here we have a uniform from the Black Knights. Conflict in the Middle East. St. Louisans are among the many Americans who have served in the Middle East since 1990, when the U.S. and its allies fought Iraq in the Persian Gulf War. I guess there's more downstairs. Don't forget to catch the basement. I think that might be the best part of the museum. The Red Summer, fears of labor unrest, and the return of black soldiers spawned a nationwide surge in racial violence, known as the Red Summer of 1919. St. Louis was spared, though memories of the 1917 East St. Louis race riot were rekindled. Homecoming in St. Louis. This is a pretty neat looking picture. St. Louis supports and supplies the war in Europe. The American Red Cross. And the flu epidemic. Changing workforces. World War I was a time of great change in the American workforce. To fulfill wartime contracts and offset the loss of millions of men recruited into the military, businesses turned to women and African Americans. New workers met new demands, which led to labor strikes for better working conditions, including the 1918 strike at St. Louis-based Wagner Electric. Targeting Germans in St. Louis. Districts from which enemy allies are barred. This is a cool little portable piano. Gas warfare. Choking, burning, blistering, blindness, and death. All were the effects of deadly gas deployed across Europe during the war. Well, this is pretty interesting if you're from St. Louis. We have a Skinker Road. I think I'll finish off the tour with some cool old posters. So that was pretty interesting, surprising, and it's free. So if you're in St. Louis, come by and check it out. I'll see you someplace or another. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, and all that good stuff. Have a good day. Oh yeah, I have an interactive map if you care to check it out. All right, bye. Stay tuned for more adventure to come. Subscribe, like, share, and thanks for watching. Bye.